Number 20, Tentacool vs Tentacruel, Pokémon.
It is known as the gangster of the sea.
That must be the gang leader.
Citywide destruction, extreme flooding, and hundreds of jellyfish monsters causing havoc. Despite the fantastical elements of it all, it certainly wasn't something Western audiences wanted to see so shortly after the tragic events in 2001, leading to Ash and Pikachu's kaiju adventures being temporarily banned.
Pikachu, do something!
You'd think that would be the end of it, but the episode was hit with a double whammy when it was also knocked off the air for a while on account of Hurricane Katrina. It was certainly a bad time to be a water Pokémon.
If this happens again, we will not stop. Remember this well.
Number 19, Showdown on King Kai's World, Goku vs Beerus the Destroyer, Dragon Ball Super. By itself, the scuffle is one of the poorest to ever blacken Goku's record, purely due to the animation being in such a sorry state that you can almost see his face peeling off mid-swing. Throw in some choppy cutaways and lack of fluidity, and this was a dismal start to what would become a Dragon Ball triumph later down the line. What's worse is that fans had already experienced this fight in all its glory back in the Battle of Gods movie, which made its TV counterpart not only look like an even sloppier affair by comparison, but also salt in the wound, knowing what could have been. Number 18, Episode 4, Psycho-Pass. In preparation for the imminent arrival of Psycho-Pass 2, the original neo-noir detective thriller was condensed into an 11-hour-long episode collection, albeit with never-before-seen footage. They might have thought their timing was perfect, at least until life once again decided to imitate art.
I want to recreate this emotional scene in a place where more and more people can see it and be touched. I guess that's the fate of an artist, isn't it?
Turns out on the eve the fourth episode was set to debut, the one that chronicled the murderous student who butchered and arranged her classmates like statues, a real-life decapitation took place with eerily similar circumstances. You can see why it was hurriedly taken off air.
Crime coefficient 472. Enforcement mode. Lethal eliminator.
Number 17, Kukurosdone's Island, Mobile Suit Gundam. The Gundam franchise has some goofy episodes to its name, even if you ignore the more light-hearted spin-offs and just focus on central series. However, there is one episode that got itself personally scrapped by the creator himself, who was so displeased with the result that he tried to spare Western audiences from its mediocrity. For those of you that want to track it down, be warned. You're in for some terribly animated trash involving the RX-78 clumsily fighting Zeon forces on an island while trying to protect a bunch of kids, all in the lamest way possible. Number 16, Shijuku People, Inuyashiki. Anime and gory deaths tend to go hand in hand, but even within the safe confines of cel-shaded animation, seeing someone mercilessly gun down police officers, reporters, and other innocents like he's going for a world-breaking kill count tends to ruffle some feathers. The heaping mounds of dead bodies would be bad enough, but the fact that Shishigami decided to conclude his rampage by dropping a passenger plane and killing everyone aboard pushed the envelope a tad too far. Cyborg or not, realistic murders on that kind of scale tend not to go down well with some audiences. Number 15, My Little Sister Can't Be This Cute, Oreimo. Trading tongues with your sister while leaving a trail of broken-hearted best girls in your wake? It's sadly become a standard in this bizarre subgenre, and while fans weren't exactly pleased about Kirino being the one to steal Kyosuke away, at the very least, it was still within the realm of cringy anime romance that we had all come to expect. Deciding to marry her and go all in, that's a bridge too far.
あんたの妹でよかった。
俺もだ。
This wasn't so much a comedy plus heaping piles of innuendos, this was full-on support for blood-related bed-breaking. Number 14, having multiple faces makes you great. Gurren Lagann. Possibly the only blemish on this rambunctious sci-fi epic, and according to sources, the blame stems from the work of guest animator and director Osamu Kobayashi, whose style did not sit well with fans. Naturally, they did what fans normally do and made their criticisms known. Nothing unusual there, right? As it happens, Gainax co-founder and Lagann producer Takumi Akai was a friend of Kobayashi's, who did not take kindly to the critiques, which he stated was akin to, and I quote, putting his face next to an anus and breathing it deep. His resignation swiftly followed.
どうしたの兄ちゃん。私たちそんなに泡じゃありません。
Number 13, going too far. XL Saga. Hats off to the creators for having the cojones to stick to their guns up until the very end. This satirical slaughterhouse certainly wasn't afraid to push its parodies that one extra step, making it one of the best animated comedies of the new millennium. So how did they choose to end it? With the sole intention of making an episode destined to be banned. And you know what? They succeeded. Time to die! Not only was it exactly a minute too long to be aired on TV stations, but featured excessive amounts of nudity and violence.
Can't help but wonder how Mr. Nabashin will tie up the ends of the story.
Number 12, Hot Springs Planet Tenrei, Outlaw Star. There's something hilariously poetic about this particular cancellation. Back when Cartoon Network was still blasting out classic anime, the likes of Gene Starwind and his companions were regulars. And while there was certainly the occasional censorship, younger anime fans could still indulge in the show's space pirate goodness.
Oh sure, climb the mountain, bring the camera, take some naked pictures.
I'll make a number 13 shell by the time you get back, just get me that footage!
Except for the Hot Springs episode. Turns out there was simply too many boobs and naked bodies to crop, so the higher-ups gave up and skipped the episode altogether. The power of Aisha's cleavage compels you. Number 11, Endless 8, The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. By this point, everyone and their time-traveling gerbil has had their say on why this collection of episodes does not work.
Your phone's ringing, Kyun.
I know.
As a concept, Miss Suzumiya looping her summer vacation over and over holds a lot of promise, but giving us the same damn episode 8 times in a row with little to no difference just for some sense of authenticity, it's not so much time loop as it is a time waste.
We're currently stuck in a time loop, reliving the same period of time over and over again.
Yeah, you already said that.
They could have executed the same storyline in half the number of episodes, and the impact would have still been felt. But 8? That's just excessive.
What's she been saying all this time? I don't know. I can't remember.
Number 10, Punishment and Confession, Darling in the Franxx.
これでよかったんだよ、ヒロ。戻ろう。
If you want to see a character's popularity and likability plummet in the blink of an eye, then you need look no further than the time that Ishigo forcibly kissed Hiro and confessed her love to him, just as he was about to chase after Zero 2. Let's just say some people did not react very favorably to this act, and would use the hashtag Bichigo on Twitter to show their frustration. In fact, some people would take it to an even more extreme degree, sending death threats to the series producer, Yuichi Fukushima. All this for a show that has since been mostly forgotten. Number 9, Taboo Index, Sword Art Online Alicization. Just when you were out of the woods, just when the visual splendor of the series was about to make us forget about Alfheim Online, this happens. Much like what happened with Oberon, the show pulled something of a faux pas by using this scene as a throwaway plot point to demonstrate that the bad guys are bad and they do bad things. The scene would be censored for international streaming, and even more so for the American TV broadcast on Adult Swim. Author Reki Kawahara would later state that he has since moved on from this sort of plot device and won't be using it again in his future works. Number 8. Gender swap sex means less Sakyu girl choices, and it kinda hurts, but you learn just what girls feel, so you should give it a try. Interspecies Reviewers. It's the straw that broke the camel's back. The fate of this absurdly ecchi yet hilarious series is somewhat tragic, especially given the anime streaming industry's lofty standards on what is considered too much. Yes, we're watching our pervy trio go through a gender bend process to understand how ladies feel when they get laid. And yes, we did see some rather intimate details. But for so many companies to suddenly stop broadcasting, come on guys, monster girls need love too.
スタンクご指名エルフのローナ笑顔で接客細身のエルフちゃんこの道300年のベテランさんだ
Number 7, School Days. School Days. Here we go again. We don't deny we got some major morbid delight from watching Makoto get stabbed by one of his many lovers after she discovered that he had cheated on her with one of the other poor saps that agreed to mount his extracurriculum. Too bad that on the day this abysmal series was about to end, an actual murder took place with some shockingly similar circumstances surrounding it. What to do in the face of such a moral conundrum? Delay the episode and post replacement footage of a nice boat to avoid any controversy. Yep, you can see how that worked out great.
やっと二人きりですね。誠くん。
Number 6, Love is a Maiden's Power, The 7 Deadly Sins. This one hurts. This one really hurts.
口には気をつけろ。俺はすこぶる機嫌が悪い。
私はすこぶる上機嫌です。
We were so ready to forgive the dumpster fire aspects of this latest series, including a shocking start to the 3rd season with weird censorship of blood, just as long as they gave us this monumental fight between two sins the respect it deserved in adaptation. Well, they didn't. Instead, they dishonored the Lion Sin of Pride by reducing the reveal of the One into a meh moment, while the physicality of the fight was totally ruined due to the animation being of such poor quality. Escanor truly deserves so much better than this. Number 5, Butterfly entangled in a spider's web. Overlord. In hindsight, Bone Daddy Ain's fully embracing his role as the big bad of this fantasy world isn't all that surprising.
ようやくエントリー開始か。アルベドよ、一人として無事に返すね。
もちろんでございます。
I mean, we've seen him viciously kill off his opponents before and use the NPCs of the world as his tools on numerous occasions. Apparently, some fans weren't so convinced, and were outraged to discover their precious skeleton was now full-on chaotic neutral, willing to lead innocents to their deaths for his grand amusement.
ありゃ、まずいな、死ぬすよ。
That, or they just couldn't handle the scene with the carnivorous cockroaches. Number 4, The Shield Hero. The Rising of the Shield Hero. Such a shame that many chose not to give this masterful isekai the time it deserved because they weren't too keen on the opening episode.
盾の勇者様がお酒に酔った勢いで突然部屋に入ってきて私を押し倒して。
While the subject of false rape accusations and slavery are indeed brought up, Many are in agreement that the way the series handled such subjects was both mature and narratively vital, since the slander thrown against Naofumi sends him spiraling to the very bottom, making his eventual rise into the true hero all the more spectacular.
Myne! なんでお前そんなこと。俺たち仲間じゃ。
Not that the protesters would get to see it, since some maintained their displeasure to the very end.
こうして俺は信頼と金、名誉、勇者としての尊厳、すべてを失った。
Number 3, Electric Soldier Porygon, Pokémon.
初めてバーチャル世界に乗り込んで知っていった諸君の偉大な業績が科学史に残るよう努力すること。
なこと約束されてもな。
The Pocket Monsters are no stranger to controversy. However, out of all their unfortunate exploits, nothing can really top the time they set a new Guinness World Record for the most amount of epileptic fits caused at once.
それはこの天才秋葉原博士が作り出した CG ポケモンポリゴンの初号機だ。
CG ポケモンポリゴン
A scene featured in this cyberspace-based episode saw Pikachu cause an explosion with a strobe effect, which resulted in many children and adults all over Japan having epileptic seizures, among other ill effects. The show would be taken off air for 4 months and would change Japanese animation practices. Ironic that such a forgettable episode would have its name cemented into the public mainstream because of such a terrible mistake.
もっと安全なシステムをまた作ってよ。
だねだね、ピカチュウ。
Number 2, The Fate of Particular Adventurers, Goblin Slayer. Oh boy, this one was something, wasn't it?
一度戻って準備をした方が。はあ？ここまで来て何？
Granted, if audiences had known what they were in for, and a convenient mature tag had been put in place, then maybe there wouldn't have been such a huge backlash against this Dark Fantasy's opening episode. Say what you will about the overall quality of the series, the sudden and brutal death of a group of adventurers at the hand of an evil bunch of little green mutants certainly got people talking. That and the tactless implications of sexual assault against its female characters. You could see the rage train coming from a mile away.
あなたは
Goblin Slayer.
Number 1, the beast that shouted I at the heart of the world, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Congratulations, Evangelion, you did it. You managed to enrage your fanbase to such an extent that you succeeded in earning yourself that rarest distinction that only a select few series gain when their watchers become obscenely irate, death threats.
あんたなんか嫌い大嫌い。
お前なんか大嫌いや。
Yeah, the folks over in Japan lost the plot a bit when they discovered the end of the show was just Shinji caught between a mental breakdown and a philosophical reflection, complete with major budget cuts.
僕はここにいたい。僕はここにいてもいいんだ。
It's not exactly what we hoped for, but it is memorable in its own kind of way. We just wish others had seen it that way. This unpopular ending would later be rectified with the release of End of Evangelion.
おめでとう。
おめでとう。
ありがとう。
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.